Some new warnings for Vietnam vets who may be carrying a cancer-causing parasite, and there are charges the VA has dropped the ball on this one. A study of 50 Vietnam vets shows that more than 1/10 have tested positive for a waterborne parasite that is linked to a deadly cancer. The river fluke is rarely found outside of Asia. The Department of Veterans Affairs says it is taking this research very seriously and is recommending, you guessed it, further testing. Dr. Devi, Associate Professor at NYU School of Medicine, joins us now. Is this the tip of the iceberg? Are these isolated cases? What are we dealing with here?
I think it is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there are 700 veterans who've been diagnosed with this particular type of cancer, cholangiocarcinoma, in the past 15 years. So 700 who were diagnosed that we know of, most of them didn't submit any claims, so for any service-related connection, because they didn't think it was related to their time in Vietnam. But the ones who did, most of them got their claims rejected. So now...
It's shocking that the VA would behave like that. I imagine all our surprise. Is this incompetence on the VA? Was this systematic that they wanted to try to cover this up? What's going on here?
Hard to know, but I don't think it was systematic in that sense. You know, we didn't have this research until now, but now, knowing this, things should change, right? So they should retroactively probably look at those cases. And for other Vietnam veterans who may have been exposed to this parasite, I think they should get tested. So the way you get exposed is by swallowing water. So swallowing the water in Vietnam, if it's not boiled, by eating raw or undercooked fish. So if you were in that situation, better to go get tested.
You think about it, there were hundreds of thousands of men who went to Vietnam, many of whom saw combat. I'm sure a lot of whom ate fish that was undercooked because their rations ran out or because that's what they bought. You could be talking about an enormous number of people here.
It's a huge number. I think that's why the VA is being cautious. But from the other side, from the patient's side, I mean, these are non-invasive tests that can be used to check your liver. You could have an ultrasound to look to see if there's any sign of inflammation. And by doing those tests, you may be able to prevent the diagnosis of this cancer that actually is very hard to treat. So from my point of view, you know, why not go get tested?
So get tested. Is the VA paying for these tests? Are they saying they're willing to help folks out or not?
Not necessarily. So they haven't really made a comment yet, as far as I know. But if you have abnormal liver function tests, let's say, then you should get started on this protocol regardless for looking for the cause. So that may be covered by the VA.
You said the cancer itself that this river fluke is known to cause is very difficult to treat. If you catch it before it gets to cancer, easier to treat? Is there anything you can do about these parasites?
It's easier to treat. So you could try medications, you could try different things. Even if you catch the cancer early, you can still treat it. There is curative surgery. The problem is most people only have symptoms once it's at a later stage. So at that point, a lot of times it's hard to try to treat it with cancer, and then you use these different things, chemo, radiation, other types of things to try to manage it.
You used to work at the VA. You may have a unique insight into the dysfunction there. We even heard President Trump today talking about changes being made to the VA. Is this part of these changes, or is the bureaucracy still lagging on an issue like this?
Well, I think it depends. You have some people who are very motivated and very talented, but you also have a system where there's a lot of red tape in terms of getting things done. This is my experience talking to veterans and other colleagues. So I think it's promising that they did this study. They did this study and they looked for these things, but hopefully they can move more quickly in terms of enacting changes.
We saw some veterans who are having even a difficult time once they could prove the link, being able to get their disability payments. Moving on to a topic that Arthel is very interested in, not so much because she wants to prevent her overeating at Thanksgiving, but she says, what's the point of Thanksgiving without overeating? Thanksgiving food being shown. Get hungry very quickly. Is it worth one day? Is it okay to splurge and eat whatever you want?
Well, I think it's good to splurge. I mean, to be fair, I'm almost 7 months pregnant, so some weight gain is inevitable. But I would say this, you know, have a plan. So decide how much alcohol you are going to drink beforehand. Decide how much you're going to eat. Maybe try to load up on some fruits and veggies beforehand so you're not starving when you get there.
Yeah, Dad has decided he's not eating all day. Dr. Devi, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.